Before following my call to ministry, for years I was a social worker, focusing on mental health and its intersections of poverty, substance use, and access to resources. So as a social worker in East Tennessee, I worked in the rural counties of the hills. And over the years, I worked with hundreds of families and children and teens and adults, many with whom I had very little in common. We didn't share the same backgrounds or ideologies or beliefs. And although the climate wasn't as politically divided and charged as it is now, it was still certainly divided then, and it was definitely growing and growing. But my task as a social worker was not to bring someone into my way of thinking or to coax anyone out of theirs, but to advocate, to link to resources, and to empower. And none of that was possible without connection. My casework took place in the field. So in homes and schools and community areas, I had to be willing to meet anyone, anywhere, and I had to be willing to be outside of my comfort zone. Often to connect with clients in the first few appointments, especially young kids, I would do what they would do with them. So it wasn't uncommon to find me sitting on someone's living room floor trying to keep up with a 9-year-old passionately explaining the inner workings of Skyrim or World of Warcraft to me, or painting nails with a 13-year-old, or one of my personal favorite and most ridiculous memories, playing soccer in a full-length skirt in order to make an 11-year-old boy feel a little less awkward about himself. I had to be in there, being with people, doing as they did. And in the midst of all of our differences, my clients and I would find ways to connect. I would show up to homes deep in the country with rebel flags, and by the end of that first couple of appointments, they'd be offering me sweet tea, looking forward to our next appointment. This isn't an anecdote about reaching across the divide or understanding across differences, but rather the power of relationship. When I went into those homes, I didn't see their beliefs or their ideologies. I saw them. And after a while, they didn't see only my badge or my otherness. They saw me too, the power of encountering one another. So on the Sunday before Labor Day, those of you who were here, we engaged one another directly to gather stories of service and learning together at River Road. We did this in service of defining Unitarian Universalism and how challenging that can be, and how we express that at River Road. Many of you who were present turned to one another and you described times of service. And that week's sermon also focused on the labor within the labor. And what I meant by that was the work that becomes uncovered once we start digging into whatever project or work that we are embarking on. Furthermore, this hidden work points to the truth of what we yearn for, what we seek when we come together, and what we seek when we plan, and what we seek when we work in labor. In that service, we explored the first source of Unitarian Universalism, which is the direct experience of that transcendent mystery and wonder, the direct experience of that transcendent mystery and wonder. There's a reason why that's our first source of faith. That experience is the foundation of our collective understanding. The ways in which we encounter one another in this space and doing the work we do, the way that we encounter each other in meetings, the way that we encounter each other on Sunday mornings, all of it matters deeply. In many organic ways, River Road is putting this first source of direct experience to task this year by embarking on a year of encountering through listening. As this congregational year unfolds before us, we find ourselves creating opportunities to connect within and beyond our ongoing work and what we already do. Some of you have already participated in Training the Heart to Listen, which isn't another program or even really another training in the strictest sense, but rather a space to witness one another's journey as we all navigate the ways our lives are shaped and are being shaped by the dynamics of race and identity. Soon, our membership assistant, Nan and Anna and I, like I already mentioned, we're going to be facilitating several roundtable discussions with a cross-section of River Roaders that will focus on the ways we all welcome each other in this community. Our Action in Montgomery core team at River Road is organizing a listening campaign, which will allow for deep one-on-one connections and conversations about the things that touch our hearts the most. There are new spirituality groups and small groups emerging grassroots style from a desire to be nourished and witnessed by one another all around us. We are yearning to encounter that piece of truth within each other. And we are also creating spaces to nurture that and to do that. And of course, there's a tension there, because within listening, there's this invitation to stillness. And in this world, with where we're at and what we're facing in the world before us, we can hardly afford to be still. We want to be effective. We yearn to be active, to show up for this world and in this world. And stillness feels incongruent with the needs that we face. And there's also the role of conflict and of boundaries and what's not okay to do each other, what's not acceptable. So keeping all of that nuance in mind, when I ponder what truly makes community what it is, it's beyond affiliation. It's beyond commonality. It's deeper than shared tasks or shared belief or shared labor. It's a recognition of oneself and the other. It's an encounter of that transcendent mystery and wonder within each other. It's the thread that weaves us together in a brilliant tapestry. And it's already woven into everything that we do here. Our shared job is to simply thread that needle. When we prioritize connection, when we embrace relationship, when we show up for each other in this space, we are in fact more effective in the world around us. When we find stillness in the movement, when we find those places of deep silence in our tasks and work, when we hear each other's yearnings, we are stronger. There are ideas that are needed. There are ways to be innovative. There are things to dream up and do together, but none of those things matter, and they will all fall apart if the way that we treat each other does not match up with the same creativity and effort we put into our work. The ways that we weave together our stories, the ways that we join together, the ways that we witness our struggles, the ways that we take each other seriously matters in this world. Because none of this exists without us. One of the lessons that continues to show up for me in ministry and my life over and over again is that there are no hard and fast rules. I repeat, there are no hard and fast rules. As much as I want there to be a hard and a fast rule for everything, as much as I long for a formula in which to plug the goings-on of my life, there is no such formula that can be universally applied. And it always comes down to listening, to hearing, to understanding, and not just to be informed. Not just to be able to tell somebody what's going on, not in the service of perfection, but to connect to the deeper truth that is within everything that we do. And so it is around and among us, a deeper truth that we most easily encounter through that stillness, as hard as that stillness may be. Not in action, but stillness. Not in action, but stillness. Through listening, through connecting, through relationship. An entry point into the labor, within the labor of what we do. An entry point into ourselves. How often have we gone to embark on something for ourselves, only to realize we had something to do before we could do the next thing that we wanted to do? The labor within the labor. How often have we sat down in committees or sat down to learn something together or to work on something only to realize there was actually a task we needed to do before that? Something around conflict, something around connecting, something around communication, the labor within the labor. What an opportunity that we have every time we come together. Every time that spark of an idea hits us, every time that we choose community, every time that we dream something up, every time that we come here. Over the summer, I shared with many of you who were at the service that when I come up into this pulpit, the primary feeling that I feel is exposure. I feel exposed and vulnerable. I feel that I am out here as an introvert, looking all of you in the eye and sharing my direct experience with you. I feel that that is the primary thing that happens with me up here. But how else can we be together if we can't be together vulnerably? How else can we come together and share deeply if we cannot share with one another what we're experiencing and how we're feeling and the truth of who we are? Those are the building blocks of community. We can have 1,000 programs, we can have 1,000 meetings, and we surely do have 1,000 things going on in this building in any given day or time. Just ask Anna, just ask Jesse, just ask any of you. We have a lot going on, but the way that it holds together is through each of us showing up, being exposed, being vulnerable, and doing that work. As we continue to build this community, may we truly encounter one another's divine spark. May we live into the truth that's in each one of our hearts, the truth that we all carry every single day of our lives. May we weave that with one another's truth in the midst of conflict, in the midst of separation, in the midst of disappointment, in the midst of trial and error. May we do this work knowing that the world needs us to come alive in this moment. That we are here to do the work, and therefore we are equipped to do the work. That we are ready and that we are willing and that we really don't have a lot of other choice in this day or age. But that we are blessed by the connections that come when we do it together. Because we do need each other. We need this community, and we do need the world around us. May it always be so. Ashe, and blessed be.